Hello and welcome back to a Literary Cornucopia. This is your host, Luisa Morales. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed an excellent holiday season and are ready for a new year. I'd like to express my gratitude to those listeners who have been following my podcast and its related blog. I concluded season 6 with an episode on the Brothers Grimm and was delighted to receive a comment on it. This listener is from Germany and she shared some fun facts. She mentioned, and I'll quote what she said, that there are some recurring elements within several of the fairy tales in the Grimm's KHM Kinder- und Hausmärchen, leaving a trail in the woods, birds warning the protagonists, cannibalism, etc., which makes me wonder just what was going on with German folklore in that time. It also makes me wonder, what were they thinking with those tales? Anyway, I appreciate her contribution. Looking forward to more. With this episode, number 146, A Literary Cornucopia begins season number 7. For this season and the year 2026, I plan to expand my library of stories and authors of all nationalities. After all, this is a cornucopia. And doesn't a cornucopia represent an abundance of something good? So I intend to provide an abundance of literature. I always ask you listeners for recommendations. What are your favorite works and writers? Who would you like to know more about? I'm also extending an invitation to anyone who is interested in contributing what he or she has learned about different writers. This episode is on Toni Morrison and her article from the New Yorker, The Work You Do, The Person You Are. I thought it was appropriate since people think about their work and the possibility of changing careers during the new year. The Work You Do, The Person You Are by Toni Morrison, May 29, 2017. All I had to do for the $2 was clean her house for a few hours after school. It was a beautiful house, too, with a plastic-covered sofa and chairs, wall-to-wall blue and white carpeting, a white enamel stove, a washing machine and a dryer, things that were common in her neighborhood, absent in mine. In the middle of the war, she had butter, sugar, steaks, and seam-up-the-back stockings. I knew how to scrub floors on my knees and how to wash clothes in our zinc tub, but I had never seen a Hoover vacuum cleaner or an iron that wasn't heated by fire. Part of my pride in working for her was earning money I could squander on movies, candy, paddle balls, jacks, ice cream cones. But a larger part of my pride was based on the fact that I gave half of my wages to my mother, which meant that some of my earnings were used for real things, an insurance policy payment, or what was owed to the milkman or the iceman. The pleasure of being necessary to my parents was profound. It was not like the children in folk tales, burdensome mouths to feed, nuisances to be corrected, problems so severe that they were abandoned to the forest. I had a status that doing routine chores in my house did not provide, and it earned me a slow smile, an approving nod from an adult, confirmations that I was adult-like, not childlike. In those days, the 40s, children were not just loved or liked, they were needed. They could earn money. They could care for children younger than themselves. They could work the farm, take care of the herd, run errands, and much more. I suspect that children aren't needed in that way now. They are loved, doted on, protected, and helped. Fine. And yet, little by little, I got better at cleaning her house. Good enough to be given more to do, much more. I was ordered to carry bookcases upstairs and once to move a piano from one side of a room to the other. I fell carrying the bookcases. And after pushing the piano, my arms and legs hurt so badly. I wanted to refuse, or at least to complain, but I was afraid she would fire me and I would lose the freedom the dollar gave me, as well as the standing I had at home, although both were slowly being eroded. She began to offer me her clothes for a price. Impressed by these warm things, which looked simply gorgeous to a little girl who had only 2 dresses to wear to school, I bought a few. Until my mother asked me if I really wanted to work for cast-offs. So I learned to say, no thank you, to a faded sweater offered for a quarter of a week's pay. Still, I had trouble summoning the courage to discuss or object to the increasing demands she made. And I knew that if I told my mother how unhappy I was, she would tell me to quit. Then one day, alone in the kitchen with my father, I let drop a few whines about the job. I gave him details, examples of what troubled me. Yet although he listened intently, I saw no sympathy in his eyes. No, oh, you poor little thing. Perhaps he understood that what I wanted was a solution to the job, not an escape from it. In any case, he put down his cup of coffee and said, listen, you don't live there. You live here with your people. Go to work, get your money, and come on home. That was what he said. This was what I heard. 1. Whatever the work is, do it well, not for the boss, but for yourself. 2. You make the job. It doesn't make you. 3. Your real life is with us, your family. 4. You are not the work you do. You are the person you are. I have worked for all sorts of people since then. Geniuses and morons, quick-witted and dull, big-hearted and narrow. I've had many kinds of jobs, but since that conversation with my father, I have never considered the level of labor to be the measure of myself, and I have never placed the security of a job above the value of home. Well, listeners, what do you think? What are your thoughts? My experience as a young child of 11 with my first paying job as a babysitter made me feel important. Like Toni Morrison, it made me feel like an adult. The first time you receive payment from someone outside the family for services rendered is special. Everyone has different experiences related to working for pay. As you grow older, they change. Agreed? Okay, now let's look at the writer. Toni Morrison was born February 18, 1931, in Lorain, Ohio. Her impact on literature is profound. She is celebrated for examination of Black American experiences, particularly those of Black women within their communities. Morrison's writing style is known for its poetic and luminous prose, and she is considered one of the greatest contemporary American novelists. Morrison's first novel, The Bluest Eye, 1970, is considered the founding text of the Black women's literary renaissance of the 1970s. The novel explores the destructive effect of white ideals of beauty on a young Black girl's identity. Morrison's focus on the psychology of oppression affecting a poor, small-town Black girl diverged from the norm of the Black arts movement, which typically featured male protagonists in conflict with the larger white society. As an editor at Random House, Morrison published works by many African American writers and public figures, such as Toni Cade Bambara, Angela Davis, and Gail Jones. She aimed to develop a canon of Black work where Black people are talking to Black people. Morrison's works and her role as an editor and teacher have inspired a generation of younger novelists. In 1993, she became the first Black female writer to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature. She died on August 5th, 2019, in the Bronx, New York. I did another episode on Toni Morrison, episode 122, which is based on her short story, Sweetness. You might want to check it out. I'll leave the link in the description or blog post, or both. Well, that's a wrap for the first episode of the year and season 7. I hope you enjoyed it. If you care to comment or leave recommendations for future episodes, use the app or send me an email at a literary cornucopia podcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. Remember to keep the light of your imagination burning throughout the new year. This is your host, Lisa Morales, wishing you, as always, happy reading and listening.